Hey guys, it's Jack. Today I'm making a laptop case. We're gonna make this rainbow one. This is my old one. I spilled something on it. I don't even remember what it was, but I'm gonna make a new one. The first step is to take a piece of macrame cord and measure the perimeter. If you don't have an old case to reference, you can just use your tablet or laptop or whatever you're gonna put the case in, or put in the case, I mean. And you cut 2 pieces of that measurement. Then you want to measure the length of the laptop or the laptop case. And I don't have a measurement tool right now, like a tape measure. So I just use a rule of thumb where I measure the length that I want the final project to be, in this case, the laptop case. And I fold the cord back on itself 3 times to triple the length, and then I cut that. And in total, to make the whole rainbow, I cut 4 pieces of each color. Sorry if you can hear cars driving by and revving their engine. It's rush hour right now, and they're right outside. The highway is right outside my window. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I cut 4 pieces of cord of each color, and I had 7 colors total. So in total it's 28 pieces of cord. But you want to just add enough pieces of cord onto your lead string, the one you measured first, so that it's the length of your laptop. So 28 pieces of cord worked for me, but use your own laptop as like a frame of reference, and just add enough pieces on so that it's the length of your laptop. So here I'm just adding the 28 pieces that I cut onto the first cord I cut of the perimeter. And then I start with the pattern. I used a diamond pattern first. So I start in the middle, I take the 2 middle pieces of cord, and I pick one of them to be the first lead string. And I double half hitch knot the other piece of cord onto that one to start. And then double half hitch knot the next string over until you have a diagonal. So here's the first part of the diamond pattern where I have a diagonal, and there's 2 pieces of cord, 4 ends, double half hitch knot onto that lead string, and then I make another diagonal so that you have the top half of a diamond shape. In the middle, I do a square knot using 2 pieces of cord on each side, just so that the knot is evenly weighted, but you can be creative. And if you don't know how to do a double half hitch knot, or I'm not doing a great job of explaining the diamond pattern, I have slower tutorial of each. So if you're patient enough with yourself, you can learn, I promise. It seems really complicated. I was once a beginner too, and I promise if you're patient enough with yourself, you can learn how to do it. It's definitely doable. So I'll link those other tutorials, like the slower knot tutorials, in the description. So I'm just making the top half of that diamond shape all across first. And then I take those 2 lead strings that are touching in the middle, and I double half hitch knot one over the other, And then I make the same pattern again, and I square knot in the middle. So now I'm doing the green, and maybe I'll be able to explain this middle part a little bit better second go around. So I have those two lead strings that are touching, square, I double half hitch knot one over the other, and then I am using those two lead strings to make the same pattern that I made on top, but again going downwards. And then when you have a finished diamond like I do in the yellow there, I take those two lead strings that connect in the middle and I double half hitch knot one over the other. And you just keep doing that pattern. I square knot in the middle. And if you do this pattern basically until you can't, you'll eventually get a bigger triangle shape. And that's where you will stop and replicate what you've done on the other side. But I'll let myself catch up with my narration brain right now. I'm just doing the purple. What should I talk about in the middle when I don't have instructions to give? Maybe my materials. So here I'm using Nook Theory cord. It's good. It's really beginner friendly. It's durable, and so you can like knot and unknot and re-knot, and it's not gonna like come unwoven. But like sustainability wise, sustainability is something that I've recently like gotten more into as far as researching for craft materials, just because if you're somebody like me who likes to craft a lot and like pick up one hobby and then ghost it before I finish any projects, I start to feel like it can be kind of wasteful. So I would recommend a new brand that I use, which I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll put that in the description too. But yeah, it's not the cord that I'm using here, but I like it a lot better. It's a woman-owned brand, and they use recycled materials to make new macrame cords. Also, side note, this is literally my favorite pattern and favorite colors. I love this diamond pattern in rainbow specifically because of the way that the pattern interlocks, but the colors don't. It's just very satisfying on my eyes. So as I keep going, you can see kind of what I'm talking about, that as you do the pattern, it starts to, on its own, make this like triangle shape. See? So now you have a triangle made of diamonds, and that's where you stop and you replicate it. You make the exact same thing so that you have two of them. Put them side by side so that you can connect them on like what would be the side of the laptop case. So those pink strings in the middle are from the top, like those first cords that we cut measuring the perimeter of the laptop. Those are those dangling down. And so I use the next nearest cord to that one, the like longest purple one hanging off of the purple diamond, to measure another 2 pieces of cord that we will square knot directly onto those pink lead strings. So with the end of that cord coming off the spool, I measured the piece of purple string dangling down, and then I folded it back on itself to double the length of the cord. And I cut 2 pieces of that cord. I fold them in half, and on that fold, that's where my thumb is touching right now, is the fold where it's the half of the cord. I'm so bad at giving instructions. So then I just square knot that new piece of cord directly on so that I can make the side seam of the laptop case. And I cut 2 pieces because I want those lead strings to not really be woven in. At one point, I think I just like got confused and I was trying to make them part of the square knot. But I want the pink side seams to just be going down straight because it helps like with the shape of the pattern on the sides. I don't know. I just noticed that it like came out a lot better when I did that than when I tried to use those like lead strings weave them into the pattern. So there I am just square knotting. So I take the ends of the diamond to square knot with so that I'm making another triangle of square knots in that negative space where you can see like all the stray ends of the cords are making like another triangle shape pointing upwards. I'm just filling that in with square knots. So you make 1 square knot, and then the next row would be 2 square knots, and then the next row would be 3 square knots, making the triangle bigger by using the ends of the cord from the diamonds. I don't know if my verbal instructions make sense, but you can see what I'm doing with my hands. I'm just filling in that triangle space with square knots. So then when that's done, you fold it over. So now you can see how it's becoming a rectangle shape. And so you want to fill in the other side by doing the exact same thing, which is to cut 2 more pieces of cord, fold them in half, square knot them directly on to those lead strings dangling from the top, and then to fill in that triangle with square knots by making 1 square knot and then 2 square knots and then 3 and so on until it's filled in. Oh yeah, I forgot I was doing a voiceover. So then when you're done, you just want to remeasure the length of your project right now and compare it to the length of the laptop case that you're referencing or your laptop, and make sure that it's the same length so that your laptop will fit. So I noticed it was like a little bit short, so I added an extra row. You can see I'm comparing there how it's like a little bit short. So to make my laptop fit, I added, not 1 row, but 2 rows more all the way around. So to add the bottom seam is very easy, like the easiest part of all. You're gonna flip it inside out to make the seam look nice. So you are going to take the ends from this side, the side that you can see while you're working, and also the other side, the side you can't see while you're working. You want to double half hitch knot those ends all onto one piece of cord to connect the bottom halves together. And if you notice while you're double half hitch knotting that like you have more knots than space below, you can skip like every other one, if that makes sense. And then you just cut the edges when you're done with that and glue them down, and then flip it back inside out. You can add a zipper, I guess, if you're good at sewing. I know how to sew, but I'm just too lazy. And so I figured that I would just use some spare pieces of cord that I just cut off the bottom and make a tie, some ties at the top. So you see how nice the seam looks when you fold it inside out? You don't have to. You can like not fold it inside out and then make the seam on the outside. I just think it looks a lot nicer when it's folded on the inside like that. It looks more like professional. So there I take some spare pieces of cord from the bottom that I cut, and I'm gonna make ties. So this is optional, but on one end of the cord, you want to make a knot, some kind of finishing knot. I've never done a finishing knot before, so I just kind of fiddled around until I figured out a knot, something that looked like a knot that I liked. And so I came up with these infinity knots. So you make a loop like you're going to make a regular knot, and then you just double it. You loop it around twice. And it makes this like infinity shaped knot all by itself when you tighten it. So then I tightened that as much as I could, and then I cut the end off so that you have like a nice tie finishing knot at the end of your tie so that the cord doesn't come undone. And then with the other end, I just found a gap somewhere in the top part of the case, and I just like tied it in a knot directly on top of that top row. Just like a regular knot. And I kind of tried to direct the knot inside as I'm tightening it, like that, so that when I cut the end, it just looks a lot more finished when the knot is on the inside rather than like pointed towards the outside. So then I do 3 of those. I flipped over the case and I did 3 more. And there, you're done. And I honestly think it looks so much cuter with ties instead of a zipper. It gives it more of like a handmade feel. I just like it. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Subscribe. Bye.